Ah! Hey everybody, welcome to week 10 of more consistent content creation. Today, what I wanted to talk about is a really valuable life skill, aren't they all? And that is knowing how to ask for help. Now, I don't know about you, but asking for help does not come to me naturally at all. So much so that I think I actually spent most, if not all, of my elementary, secondary, and post secondary and early career just getting by and, treading water, keeping my head above water. In school, I did pretty well academically. I would say I was a pretty great elementary school teacher when I was still teaching. But personally, on the personal level, I did not know how to reach out to others when I was struggling. I kind of just took the situation for what it was and dealt with it the best that I could. I think my pattern for the most part was often fleeing the situation. We talk about fight or flight. I definitely think my response was the flight response. To give you an example, grade 11 jazz band, I had a solo in the Spider-Man theme. God knows what the Spider-Man theme even sounds like. I had a solo. We played, I don't know, up to 10, maybe 12 concerts. Every single time I got up to the mic to play the solo, I faked it. I pretended I was playing the sax and just prayed to God that nobody would notice and that the band would cover it all up. And not once did it cross my mind to ask for help. And of course, eventually I gave up the sax. As much as I enjoyed it, I decided not to continue pursuing it after high school. Same with teaching. I first of all, after university, I moved overseas. I taught in London for 2 years, then I moved to Mexico for 3. So I moved countries. And then eventually I gave up my teaching career basically because I couldn't keep up with finding a balance between my personal and professional life. I basically had no personal life. And not once again did it cross my mind to reach out for help. And I'm not sure if it's a cultural thing. In the Chinese culture, we have something that's called a high power distance, which basically relates to an individual and a figure of authority and how much power basically that figure of authority has over somebody. And in our culture, your parent, your teacher, any elder, any adult in your life really is considered a figure of authority. And it's expected that we listen, that we fulfill our duties, and that we kind of just do our thing. And we don't challenge, we don't ask, we don't express our difficulties and our challenges. I also don't know whether it was just a family thing, a family upbringing, where there wasn't a lot of conversation that took place. So, not a lot of expression of self, expression of my experiences, sharing of my needs or my thoughts. So, this was a really underdeveloped skill that I later realized I was lacking. And some things that did eventually help me cultivate this skill, which has made me a lot better in and confident in reaching out for help, is number one, just getting more comfortable with sharing bits and pieces of myself with others, self-disclosure, communicating and connecting with others. The more I was able to engage in conversation about myself with other people, the easier it became to decipher my needs, and the more comfortable I felt sharing parts of my personal life with other people. So that's number one. For a pretty private person, I would say that's something that I did have to get used to, get better at. is expression of self and disclosure, self-disclosure. Secondly, which I think is a huge part, is accepting my vulnerability. And a few weeks ago, I did speak about how it's so important to normalize our mistakes and failure. And I think this is definitely directly related to that. You know, accepting that we're imperfect and that we cannot do everything by ourselves as much as we'd like. We're only human. You know, we all go through struggles in life. And it's perfectly normal to be having a difficult time. Now, the only thing is that we've got to be brave enough to be able to voice that out loud and to say, hey, I'm struggling. Because what my pattern was to enclose myself in my own bubble, just sort of brewing in, you know, worry and anxiety about whatever situation it is I was facing. And I completely forgot that my community, my friends, my family existed. You know, I would stop communicating. So once we're able to more easily connect and communicate with other people through self expression, recognize our needs, and once we can also embrace our vulnerability and be brave enough to say it out loud, I think those are the two biggest keys in getting the support that we need. And, you know, even if the person you reach out to may not be able to, even if they're not able to help you directly with your situation, just knowing that someone is there for you in this difficult time is, at least for me, more than enough. So learning how to ask for help, I definitely think it's something that we all should do and should cultivate, because hard times are a natural part of this life process, and it's always great to know that we're not alone, which we aren't. So why choose to go that route, right? When there are always people and resources out there to give us a hand. So that's me for today. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Take care.